Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. So I want to do a follow-up video to help better explain some of the stuff from the previous video there, just kind of explain what sort of Convallaria is, and kind of look into its overall value prospect as a strategy RPG, since obviously that's the main thing we do around here. So as far as the idea of being a classic strategy RPG that's more or less funded by whales, it's a bit of an odd way to do it. I can see where they were coming from in a, I guess that's one way to do it kind of sense. It does feel a little bit dire if you take a look at any of the monetization buttons, but look, I'll be completely blunt. All of this kind of stuff, I do not look at this. I am not looking at this. This stuff makes my eyes bleed, okay? As soon as I see shiny rocks, I just kind of throw open my mouth a little, okay? I hate that. That part I hate. That's why we're not touching that whatsoever. That is not a game. That is addictive personalities getting exploited. All right. So let's get that out of the way right off the bat. Now, to explain its relevance to all of it, I saw several comments explaining, essentially just arguing over needing the NRG scores or whatever else. Look, these first two sections that actually use all of that garbage, we're not touching those. We're not talking about those. That's not the actual strategy RPG here. That is what we classify as mobile game bullshit, and we put it in that box, put it in the trash, and hopefully an incinerator at the soonest possible opportunity. This is the actual game, though. Which is a bit of a weird thing, because again, I would have liked to just buy this game as an actual game rather than have the other stuff attached to it. Because the actual game itself is pretty good. Like, this part itself is kind of like a little bit of a baby brother version of something like The Last Spell, Radiant Historia, and Battle Brothers, just went and had some weird morphing together of sorts, where we've got the whole mercenary band thing going on. We've got characters that are essentially just built up over the course of their fights. The actual grinding stuff is in the mobile game section. The actual, this one is just management. This is management and strategy, and that is good. That part is good. You go to, you start a week, you have your battles that you send people out to do. People get tired as you do them, so you have to bench people in order to have them rest. You have people going out on away missions. We can send one more out to somewhere, apparently. Do we have somebody? You're a plot character, you get out of here. And so you just kind of send people out to go do work, and then you're just managing stuff. Managing reputations, managing dealing with people. In fact, the format of this game makes it a little bit frustrating to cover, because I had an earlier version of this that I had screwed up audio on. That had a really cool mission where, for example, you're sent in to go help deal with like a peace negotiation kind of thing, and so there's a bunch of injured guards from one of the factions, as well as a couple hostile members from that faction, and essentially your job is either to kill off the people that are being hostile, or just kind of keep them pinned while a healer goes and fixes them up, so that everybody's just kind of de-escalating the situation, It was a very interesting thing where you can effectively just have a bunch of units standing around blocking the way so that nobody can actually get to the priest that's trying to do the healing. They do their job, and everybody's just on their way. It's a cool kind of take on a mission. This actually has a lot of little bits and pieces that are, frankly, pretty cool takes on missions. You've got the occasional kind of sort of like just plain movement mission, which feels similar to something that Felseal or Metal Gear Acid tried to do. You've got more defensive missions than you usually see in stuff like this. And again, the base management and stuff like that, I guess to some degree there's a bit of Darkest Dungeon in there too. It's cool though. Like, this is just a cool setup as far as a overall game flow kind of thing. And one thing that I mentioned in the first video is that it felt a little bit almost too optimized, and that was those situations where you can't actually miss anything over the course of your day. So, like, if you're following your prompts, you will always have people rested, you'll always have people getting fixed up, you're always going to have stuff being crafted. But the thing is, this isn't necessarily a bad thing in the phone game sense, that you can sort of pick it up and get back to it whenever you feel like it. It does have a little bit of weird back and forth to itself, though, where you've got like those kind of gritty, here are all these villagers dying scenes. Then you've got the people looking all anime-like in their portraits, and then you also got the friggin' tiny witch lady. Why can we not just burn her at the stake yet? Anyway, but still, like stuff's happening. You get some. I don't know how much of that is random, how much of that is set. But you get these kind of background decisions and whatever else happening pretty regularly. During fights, the dialogue decisions change every now and then. Like, for example, for a little bit, I thought that the latest thing that you discovered was going to be the kind of optimal choice in all situations. And then it turned out that there were multiple situations where it just kind of derailed whatever was going on there to begin with. So there does seem to be some actual choice there. Somebody seems to have actually given a crap. Again, there's heart to these scenes. In fact, actually, one of those things that I found particularly funny is the first of the what were they, the rank missions there to upgrade your mercenary rank. They're like, oh, we don't really know who to send to go deal with this, so we just have kind of a local team, a local militia here, and it's a bunch of shepherds. And while you're going and fighting them, there's people complaining about sheep running in the streets in the background. Like, there's heart there, They thought this through. Let's see. The Dark Light is seducing the townsfolk. What should we do? Who the hell are these people again? Let's see. Plays havoc with the town. It will fall into chaos, but we couldn't do anything about it. I mean, get rid of them. Screw it. Alright. Let's see. Acquire a new global effect. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. So you have choices over different effects that end up happening over the course of your playthrough. Where each of these will have some sort of effect. So, like, for example, doing that ranking mission earlier, there was an option over whether to publicize what was going on or not, giving a different modifier to how quickly your kind of exploits cause your team to get a bit more famous, more or less upping difficulty at the cost, or sorry, with the cost of upping difficulty, but it potentially multiplies scores gained and stuff like that. So there is a little bit of some of those little things reminded me sort of if you've played Armored Core Verdict Day by any chance, the kind of New Game Plus modes that they had there, where you potentially had different choices that were affecting your world states and whatever else. And that's its value here as far as I see it. Its value as a sort of roguelite strategy RPG, which is an interesting thing. Again, I would have preferred to just buy it separately rather than have it be online. See, that's actually the other thing, and one of the things that really bugged me about it was the whole always online thing. That you always have to log in order to have it work. On the plus side, this means that it's always saving whatever you're doing. So if, for example, you're in the middle of a fight, just like, let's say, War of the Lions on the phones, you're going to have those situations where it'll save in the middle of a fight, and that's all well and good, that's decent. Let's go ahead and RuneScape click our way around here. It's cool to see these kind of explorable hub worlds and stuff like that. It's nice. That part's nice. But the always online thing kind of bugged me because it also tends to update pretty frequently. So, for example, when I went and took the kids out to a doctor's appointment, I wanted to go and test it a bit more, and unfortunately I couldn't, unlike any other thing that was on the phone, because I went to go turn it on, and the basically phone's Wi-Fi doesn't work at the hospital, so I was trying to use the hospital's Wi-Fi. Every other game works just fine, except for that one. They're like, I don't know, it's trying to do some shady stuff with our VPN. It's not allowed to function, and it just completely wouldn't function with a VPN on. That's kind of sketchy to me. I don't know what it means exactly, but it's weird that it specifically wants your VPN on. I don't know if, that seems like the kind of thing that usually comes up from stuff that's selling your data or whatnot. I don't know if it actually means anything, so if you happen to know what it's doing in the background, it wasn't file size. It was like a 570 kilobyte whatever file that it needed later. So I don't know what that was about. Anyway, so that was just kind of weird. But the fact that it's online, that it has to log in, also means that there's this, despite initially getting sped up on account of saving where you are, it does have those moments where it does slow down for basically the exact same reason. Where for example, actually no, we don't want this guy. Where do we have the other guy? This guy. Mr. Speedy Stabby Guy. Where because of the fact that it has to load everything up from scratch means that if you shut it down, it has to do it all over again. It just has to do that full restart cycle whenever you're shutting it down, right? It's a bit of a pain in the neck. Not exactly ideal. Like I know, for example, when I've gone out for work for the evening, like for example, I'd keep XCOM 2 in the background of my phone every now and then. Most of the time I have my Vita, but every now and then, you forget. And so in that particular case, I had it there in the background, and it was able to just go and restart just fine. The entire evening, I would just go start it up, and it would be all good to go. Then this time around, instead, it just kind of wound up with a thing that it just immediately had to do the full boot up every time that I went and shut it down, which meant that there was no sitting down and comfortably playing it for, a minute or two. Instead, it wound up being that, I had to go wait for the full boot up sequence, and then by the time it was done, it was already time to get going. The order was ready or whatever else. So maybe that's something oddly specific that happened right then and there. Maybe it's something to do with something else. I don't know for sure. But, maybe it's even something that'll be optimized out later. I don't know. But that didn't feel particularly great to me. That being said, though, it is still free. Would prefer for it to potentially not be free and have a better version of free. But again, it is still technically free, so there's that. So anyhow, as far as the actual game itself, I don't know why I've had a few folks pushing back on the whole, like, you can beat this thing without having to interact with the gotcha stuff thing, because it does seem like they did at least properly separate those two, so that this is basically isolated away from the toxic crap that's over on the other side of the game. Again, as far as I can tell. Obviously, I'm only a few hours in at this point, but from what I've seen, the only currency that it actually uses are the keys. You get a couple keys every week, and additionally, you get some of that other currency stuff, which can further be used to get more keys. So basically, it seems to be fine there. As far as actual mechanics go, like actual strategy mechanics and whatever else, while it is technically simplified to be more playable on phones, as you can tell, there is still stuff going on here. That there are actual decisions that get to be made, and there's a lot of interesting mechanics that interact between these different characters, as well as a sort of a thing that kind of feels somewhat similar to the kind of randomized skill modes from the new XCOM games. So, for example, like you saw this lady over here summon in a bodyguard, that's not one of her usual skills, it's just one of the random things that she was just sort of inspired to do one day. So basically she just gets to break the character limit on account of having been trained to use that skill. And so, for example, if you're playing the mobile version, it's just a skill tree that you go and spend more of their currency on in order to get all that stuff. And in this one, they're randomly obtained or trained to those characters. Again, feels very similar to stuff like New XCOM, feels very similar to stuff like Battle Brothers or Last Spell in that particular regard, because you're essentially getting those skills somewhat at random in some cases. You're still kind of rolling with the punches, so to speak, but you are still getting kind of interesting choices delivered to you and whatnot, So, I'd say overall character building has felt good in the single-player version. Absolute garbage in the multiplayer, or in the mobile version, as I'm going to call it, despite it technically all being on mobile. Honestly, there is, as far as I see it, no reason to play the mobile version unless you're just one of these folks that's super addicted to those kinds of games for some reason. I don't understand you, but that's fine. You do you. Whatever makes you happy. But to my mind, this is the one with an actual game going on, So, let's see. Cost management, what's this? Forging costs, that's fine. Trash into treasure. Let's see. Research outcomes are more likely to include mysterious items. Sure, whatever. That looks interesting. And this is what I mean with some of those randomization aspects. That you get, for example, different research stuff that pops up, because Annoying Witch Lady is basically your Dr. Valen in this situation. There's some plot stuff happening, but honestly, I do not care. The writing hasn't been anything to write home about, but the overall kind of game flow has been interesting. Like, I could see this being a, you're off on like an hour drive with the family or whatnot kind of experience. I can't say I've been too interested in the story. It kind of, the version that tied into the mobile game version seemed to be pretty up its own ass by this point. Um, this version is interesting though. There's at least stuff happening here. The actual story mode events that are going on here are a lot more subdued. You got a lot of your kind of day-to-day fights and whatever else that go on here. I should also probably mention you noticed that there was a stamina meter for all of your characters. That will actually deplete much faster if somebody's knocked out. It's like you saw, this guy was knocked out. He's our resident tank here, so he basically is going to be near worthless for next week. So we're going to have to give him a week off. Whereas this lady's just carrying fights on account of sending disposable minions everywhere. But I like this. This feels, again, a nice mix of something like a Tactics Advance and an XCOM in a way. And I like that. It feels genuinely good. As far as the fights go, while they don't necessarily always make a lot of sense, like it is a little bit weird that you'll be going and killing off people from the Papal State one day, and, the next week they're like, oh, well, I guess we're best buddies now. But, it is what it is. They are mercenaries and all that, so I guess there's that. Okay. Yeah, the fights vary. I will say, as far as the difficulty that it mentions there, that part seems to be made to make people feel good about themselves, because, so far there has not been anything particularly difficult, like in the game, full stop, even with hard mode enabled here. So it's not the hardest thing in the world, but again, it feels like there's at least pushback, is the thing. That was kind of the problem with the mobile version of it, that it seemed like there wasn't that feeling like if you weren't paying attention that stuff would go horribly wrong. Like I wouldn't be confident that these characters would win on AI or something. And as far as I can tell, I don't think there is an AI mode for these guys right now. And additionally, there seems to be some interesting functions behind some of their skills and whatnot, so that's also a thing. Anyway, let's go ahead and spawn that dude over there, as I forget how to do the controls, apparently. Oh, well, he can't kick that dude into the other dude. That would have been convenient. Oh, well. Move over here, then. There you go there, and just stand by. Sounds good. But yeah, strategically speaking, I like this. This does feel like something that actually has some heart put into it. So far, the scenarios, again, I like what I'm seeing as far as scenarios are concerned. It's good to see neutrals showing up so often. Even when you have those story events when clearly, they had supposed to lose battles and whatever else, I've seen them handled way worse. So I'd say overall that's certainly fine. So yeah, for a free game, definitely the value is there. But I would say play only the spiral thing. Like the other stuff, play only until the spiral's unlocked, and then after that point, just don't touch the other stuff ever again. There's just no point. Just forget the mobile stuff. Like, don't even look at the costs. Like, I saw a few folks mentioning, like, yeah, it's something to the tune of, like, $100 to recruit 40 characters or something, which I'm sure it is. You know what? I haven't checked yet, but I'm sure it is. That sounds like exactly the kind of exorbitant BS that mobile games do. I'm assuming in some cases folks maybe are just, like, maybe unfamiliar with what these kinds of games do, because that's not the most egregious I've seen by any stretch. It sucks. It is exploitative as all hell, that's for sure. I just mean, like, I've seen way worse just the other day, that there was this this arcade thing that was kind of a fun little time waster that wound up on my phone. And even in that case, they're like, oh man, you can slightly upgrade your airplane for like a freaking $80. Like, like, please somebody take this thing out back and shoot it. But yeah, no, it gets, like, as far as monetization goes, this is far from the worst thing I've seen. Again, gotcha stuff sucks in general for that particular thing, and it sucks that the rest of the game, well, basically exists so that this can exist. Because the mechanics here are fun. They've got a lot of cool interactions between characters, between skills, and whatever else. Again, very kind of last spelly kind of things in terms of adding additional effects to your attacks and whatnot. It feels like, again, you're getting that progression without necessarily needing to completely master new mechanics every single time that you're getting a new skill or something. So that genuinely does feel good to play, but As far as overall value prospect goes, I would say as long as you're not spending a dang dime on this thing, it's gonna feel pretty satisfying. Again, do not touch any of the colorful rocks. The colorful rocks are toxic. It is nature warning you to stay away. Okay, do not eat the colorful rocks. They will just delete your soul. Just don't do it. They do not exist. The colorful rocks do not exist. They cannot hurt you. Also, wait, that is the smallest pool table I think I've ever seen. Alright, let's see. Who trained last time? Also, what happened to this guy's spear? Yeah, you still see the occasional weird bug. Like, this guy's spear just up and disappeared, which is weird, because, I guess that means that they actually do potentially have different sprites for these? Do they? Do they have different sprites for different weapons or whatever else? Because, for this kind of thing, where all of their weapons look the same, I would have expected that the spear wouldn't be part of him. What's up with that? Yeah, so you see, okay, you see the occasional thing like that, like, you know, his weapon was missing there. We've got Sprite 11 over here. That's not great. That's certainly something that could be different. Also, one more thing to probably mention. So what I was mentioning earlier about grinding isn't really a thing in the single-player version. You basically put people into training, or put them into fights, or send them on away missions to train them up. You do not spend like anything other than the gold that you're using to train them up. It's just a nominal amount. I have yet to ever run out of this here. And that's basically all that's happening in the single player there. That you're basically kind of naturally going and training them up because this is a management simulator, an actual game. All the other stuff is segregated to that other section over there. Also, there was some plot that happened. I don't care. I have to say, none of the writing has terribly impressed me so far, and it is still hilarious that that first cutscene involves somebody trying to talk to a freaking tornado, but anyway. Okay, so there's that night order thing. Neato, whatever. You want to skip this cutscene? Sure do. Okay. Oh yeah, that's friggin', I swear it's non-Agrius, right? Anywho, so yeah, to the guy that was excited about buying them for the mobile version, you do you, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm assuming they're probably just gonna come up in the story, so that's just kind of just what it is. And so yeah, that's basically what you do. You click on your button on the bottom right. You get your loops of fights. You train people. You build people up, and then eventually, once you wind up in a doomed world state, that's when you spend more keys and things. So so from what I saw, just to kind of mention this as the last note here, as far as these keys are concerned. So if we go over here, we take a look at this stuff. So what I can tell, from what I know, these keys are basically going to be spent one per thing, right? So one per chapter. From what I saw, these go up to 8 chapters. So potentially you need like 8 keys per playthrough. At which point, I mean, basically you're getting 2 per month, and again you get whatever that other frickin' BS is. In many ways, this kind of makes me think of what happened with RuneScape 3, where it's like if you ignore all of the monetary BS, it's a good game. But you just don't pay attention to that stuff, because then we go and, you know, actually look at said things, and that's when your eyes bleed. That's when you start just kind of vomiting internally. This is when you start having severe just constipation, because somehow even that feels like an insult to what you're seeing in front of you. So again, I don't know exactly what this bullshit all translates to, but I know these keys are 100 of these shiny rocks, so I'm assuming it's probably the usual thing of you get the weekly amount of these or something. I would assume you probably get like a couple hundred or something. I don't know. Let's see. Because you got some of them over the course of the story. Maybe you have to progress through that other thing. I don't know. But still, if you're playing, for example, at the speed that I've been, 2 would be more than enough over the course of, over the course of a week or whatever it was. Was this a week or was it a month? Actually, let's check that. Where do you get keys? How does keys? Source, exchange, or regular? What is regular? So, you trade these things for it. So, you get those things. Okay, all well and good. What's all this then? I don't know. It's disgusting. I hate that. Why do they all use this? Like, it just looks like it's about to friggin' fart unicorns at you. What is that? Um, like, they always use the same color scheme. And frankly, I only know some of them because I had a relative that used to be extremely obsessed with gacha games, like especially the Fire Emblem one. And they would always run up to people like, "No, quick, do my rolls, push my buttons, push my button. Look, it's more lucky if you do it." And like, please just stop. It was irritating. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know how else you get those. I just saw I mentioned somewhere that you get 2 of those keys or something. Um, okay. Anyway, so as far as I'm concerned, yeah, as long as you're playing it for free, good game. As long as you avoid all the gotcha stuff, good game. Yeah, I plan to go through this through at least one campaign of the whole thing, just to kind of update on how that theory held up. But as far as I can see, this is like if you're just playing this, it's pretty harmless and fun, you know. The other stuff, though, the other stuff is absolutely disgusting, and please don't touch it. Like, I can't be clear enough on that. Please do not touch the gotcha stuff. It's in the name. They got you by the throat. They got you by the balls. Don't touch that thing, okay? They got you by the wallet. They got you by the everything. Just do not touch the gotcha stuff. It's potentially illegal in a lot of places for a reason. It's just kind of taking advantage of addictive personalities. Alright, anyways, I gotta get going. That's all I had time for here today. So, thank you for listening to my ramble, and have yourself a good one. Take care.